Today we're going to explore how Today we're going to explore through the course of the Spanish Civil War the major turning points, cause and effect, as well as how different people perceive this war by understanding what changed and what stayed the same. However, we will do this by connecting On Tyranny, written by Timothy Snyder, and see if his lessons are accurately reflected in real life. So in this case, we'll be taking his 8th lesson, which is to stand out. He states, "The moment you set an example, the status quo is broken, and others will follow. It is those who consider it exceptional, eccentric, or even insane in their own time that are remembered and admired today." We'll see if this is accurately represented by the different parties involved in the Spanish Civil War. So to start off, we'll go through the overview and the major turning points throughout this war. In the 1920s, the constitutional monarchy under King Alfonso XIII was established. However, as we progress throughout 1923 to 1930, military dictator takes over, and his name's Primo de Rivera. However, in 1930, he's overthrown, and a new republic under the Prime Minister Manuel Azaña at that time, in 1931, 12th of April, is also established. However, the rule under Azaña led to lots of controversy and unrest within the nation. So, one example would be the establishment of the Republic in 1931 caused considerable outbursts of unrest as the rural workers hoped for change. However, falling agricultural prices and exports led to wage cuts. Rural unemployment at this time had also risen considerably, and attempts at land reform were blocked by conservative parties, and the countryside became radicalized. And because of this, lots of rural unrest was in the countryside, and therefore he didn't garner lots of support at this time. So this in 1933 led to his resignation, and a new party under the right wing called CIDA was formed. And in 1930s, and to right wing and left wing parties, to better understand this, we'll go through their eyes, which is to understand what the left wing and right wing parties believed in. And the left wing party in this case were the Republicans. They're a democratic elected government, and they hated the monarchy and the church, which was very prominent and established in Spain at the time. And the right wing party, the nationalists, were extremely anti-communist, pro-monarchy, they're in strong support of the church, and they're very similar to Nazi Germany and fascist Italy. So they shared lots of their ideals and beliefs. So having a better understanding and establishment of these parties, we can further get back to the turning points and understand how they play a role. So after Azaña's resignation, the right-wing party, the Nationalists, forms a new party called CIDA, and they have a large stake in the government and had lots of say in what was going on. And to combat this, in 1936, the leftist Popular Front came to power and was also established to combat the right wings. And on 13th July 1936, Jose Calvo, the finance minister, was assassinated. And this was a major turning point in the war, which also was a major spark, which ignited the war. Everything took off from there. And after this happened, in 26th of July, about 2 weeks later, the right-wing party garnered lots of foreign support. And at this time, Franco was a military dictatorship, has started his military dictatorship and started his reign all over Spain. So since he was in strong relations or on good terms and shared lots of ideals with the fascist party and Nazi Germany, they had lots of overseas support. So Franco brought his Moroccan legion to Spain, and Italy offered 70,000 of their troops, and Germany offered 100 planes in support of Franco and his rule in Spain. So after we have a brief overview of the actual events that took place in the Spanish Civil War, it's important to understand the cause and effect relationship of these major events. So dating back, the major long-term causes were Catholicism against modern liberal thought, churches. So there's three major long-term causes. There's regional independence against traditional central control, and political liberalism against deep conservative monarchism, which is the disputes and issues between the left-wing and the right-wing parties. So, and as we move down, we see, as we previously mentioned, Azania gets into power, but however causes lots of unrest. And he also managed to do things that trigger and provoke lots of different parties. And the major things he did was cut military power and cuts education regarding religion. So by using the past, we can understand why he did this. And the major reasons were because understanding the power of the churches and the military had at that time, it'd be very understandable and reasonable for Azania to feel this way and to cut their power to preserve and maintain more stability in Spain. And the military at the time was very powerful and well established. Therefore, the first step Manuel Azania took was to quickly renounce the military and promote anti-military measures. So numerous steps were taken in this. The length of military service was only reduced to 1 year, and Zaragoza Military Academy was closed. This was one of the biggest and most prominent military academies in Spain, and for him to shut this down was a strategic and powerful move on his behalf. So as we move down, following the different turning points, we go to the the creation of left-wing parties to combat CETA. And this, in this case, was the Popular Front, which garnered lots of support in the military power. And the political power and political stance of the country at that time. And the assassination of Jose Calvo, the finance minister, was a sign that things were getting out of hand. And because of this, Franco decides to start his military dictatorship. So these small things built up and led to Franco garnering power and support within the country. So going back to our main idea of how it was important to stand out and set an example and be eccentric, it was clear that all these parties were doing things differently compared to one another. They're setting up their own political parties, their own political parties within the government to garner support within their countries. And what Franco did differently was he reached out to overseas countries with similar beliefs and allied with them to have their military support and military backing in his attempts to have political power and political stability in Spain. And what he did was went to Nazi Germany and fascist Italy, and had tremendous support and impact. And these two countries had tremendous support and impact on the Spanish Civil War as they provided tremendous military backing and economic financing for Franco, which led to lots of his success in his conquest of Spanish expansion. So keeping this in mind, we'll see what changed and what stayed the same throughout the course of the war, or the changes that resulted from the Spanish Civil War. So the main change was the political power in Spain and the governing system. So what this means is, the major change was the political power in the Spanish governing system. It was first governed by the left, the Republic. However, as Franco came to power and the rise of national support, Franco had resulted in his military victory in Spain. And that was a major change throughout the course of the war, the transfer of power between one party to another. However, this was a very bloody war that resulted in lots of casualties. It was estimated to have 200 to 250,000 casualties throughout these years out of a population of 25 million. So that was about 1% of the population gone due to a war. And Franco was because of this, because of the lesson we learned, how it was important to be different and to be out there, as stated by Snyder and his on tyranny, Franco managed to remain in power until 1975. So we see how his eighth lesson about standing out is very important and led to lots of success on behalf of Franco and his military power in regards to the Spanish Civil War.